King Charles delivers one of the most decisive moves of his reign, officially stripping his brother, Prince Andrew, of all royal titles and honors while ordering his eviction from Royal Lodge. The announcement, made by Buckingham Palace on October 30th, marks the end of a long and turbulent chapter for the former Duke of York. After years of scandal, scrutiny, and public disapproval, the king's decision effectively removes Andrew from the royal institution in both name and status. He will now be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, a title stripped of any royal significance. The palace's statement confirms that Andrew's long-standing lease at Royal Lodge, which once protected his right to remain there until 2078, is no longer valid. Formal notice has been served to terminate the agreement, forcing him to leave the Windsor estate that had been his home for decades. Reports suggest that Andrew will be relocated to the Sandringham estate, possibly at Wood Farm, the same modest residence where Prince Philip spent his final years. The demotion is not only symbolic, but also practical, signaling that Andrew's royal privileges and protections have come to an end, leaving him to live as a private citizen for the first time in his adult life. King Charles officially takes decisive action against his brother, marking a historic turning point for the royal family. After weeks of speculation and private discussions, Buckingham Palace confirms that the king has evicted Andrew from Royal Lodge and stripped him of all royal titles, including the use of prince. The announcement, released on October 30th, states that the former Duke of York will now be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. This move ends years of controversy surrounding Andrew's royal status following the fallout from his connection to Jeffrey Epstein and the ongoing scrutiny of his conduct. The palace's decision extends beyond removing his royal styling. Andrew's lease at Royal Lodge, which legally allowed him to remain there until 2078, is now terminated. Buckingham Palace confirms that formal notice has been served, requiring him to surrender the property he has occupied for decades. Despite reports suggesting that he wished to move into Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's former home, Frogmore Cottage, Andrew is instead expected to relocate to Sandringham. Sources indicate he may reside at Wood Farm, the quiet rural home once used by Prince Philip. For Andrew, this change marks the end of his life as a senior royal and the beginning of a quieter, more private existence. The announcement also confirms that Andrew loses all remaining honors tied to his royal service and lineage. His titles of Earl of Inverness and Baron Killelea, granted on his 1986 wedding day, are officially revoked. Likewise, his membership in prestigious orders such as the Order of the Garter and the Knight Grand Cross of the Victorian Order is removed. These symbolic gestures represent a full severing of his formal ties to the monarchy. While Buckingham Palace acknowledges that Andrew continues to deny the allegations connected to Jeffrey Epstein, it emphasizes that these actions are necessary to protect the integrity of the crown. The palace's statement concludes with a pointed expression of sympathy for victims of abuse, noting that King Charles and Queen Camilla's thoughts and utmost sympathies remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. The inclusion of this line signals a clear attempt to distance the institution from the scandals that have surrounded Andrew for years. Inside royal circles, the decision is viewed as both inevitable and symbolic. It demonstrates that King Charles is determined to modernize the monarchy and uphold accountability, even when it affects members of his own family. For many observers, it is a defining moment in his reign. Prince Andrew's departure from Royal Lodge marks the end of a long-standing residence that has been tied to his identity as a senior royal. Although his lease legally allowed him to remain at the property until 2078, the palace has now formally served notice for him to surrender it. The historic home, set in the grounds of Windsor Great Park, has been central to Andrew's public and private life for decades. Moving forward, he will reside in undisclosed property on the Sandringham estate, with speculation pointing to Wood Farm, where Prince Philip spent his final years. The relocation underscores the complete removal of his formal privileges and access to royal resources. This move also contrasts sharply with Andrew's previous attempts to secure alternative royal residences, including a reported request to move to Frogmore Cottage, formerly occupied by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Those requests were declined, highlighting the palace's resolve to enforce boundaries even for family members. By removing his titles, honors, and residence, King Charles ensures that Andrew's role within the royal institution is fully curtailed. The action sends a broader message about accountability and the limits of protection once afforded by family ties. Publicly, the monarchy frames these measures as necessary to uphold the integrity of the crown while reaffirming support for victims of abuse. The removal of Prince Andrew's titles, honors, and residence represents a historic and decisive step by King Charles to address long-standing controversies surrounding his younger brother. By stripping Andrew of his privileges, the monarchy signals a commitment to accountability and reinforces the importance of maintaining public trust in the royal institution. While Andrew retains his birthright as a member of the royal family, his public role and access to royal resources are effectively ended. This action also underscores the distinction between private family loyalty and the responsibilities tied to official royal status. For the public, it demonstrates that even senior royals are not exempt from scrutiny or consequences, particularly in matters involving allegations of serious misconduct. As Andrew moves to a new residence on the Sandringham estate, the focus shifts toward a future in which his ties to the crown are limited, while the monarchy continues its efforts to uphold its reputation and reaffirm its support for victims of abuse. The episode highlights the balance the royal family must maintain between tradition, family, and accountability in the modern era.